Welcome to chapter 15 of Hal Joseph Presents Secret Treatises of Blue Oyster Cult Monograph. We're talking about the New York City rock band Blue Oyster Cult, whose lead singer and lead guitarist, in a manner of speaking, Buck Dharma, aka Donald Rosser, has a album that came out several years ago called Buck Dharma Archive Volume 2, and there's a Volume 3 also, just discovered. So anyway, I made an error in my last chapter, which is to say that on this archive album, the third song is ETI, or Extraterrestrial Intelligence. I was wrong about that. Sorry. It's Deadline, which is a track, original track, a good song, Deadline, from the Cultosaurus Erectus album, sometime in the 80s, I believe that was. And the Deadline that is spoken about in this song, Deadline, and it's a classic. It's kind of mellow. It's kind of a ballad, hard rock ballad. You're missing a deadline. You crossed the deadline. You passed it. And then later on it says, but he knew. In other words, he knew what he was doing every step of the way. And come rain or shine, he was going to end up, in some sort of trouble or safety or whatever. And then, oh yeah, it's got one good longish guitar solo by Buck Dharma. One of the lines in the song Deadline says, "Don't play with fire, faith versus desire." And you know what? With enough faith, you can desire what you think is good for you. And what I desire is to continue with Hal Joseph Presents, talking about Blue Oyster Cult and throughout the years. And we spoke to Anthony Lauro the other day when we were singing a few of the big hits off Blue Oyster Cult. And Anthony is my cellie here, my bunkie at the nursing home here in Los Angeles. And he remembers them. He likes those songs. But, I have had this podcast for starting on YouTube, and it's Hal Joseph Presents, for over 3 years. Next year in August, it'll be 4 years of this podcast. And I was absent for several months because I was in Arizona and I was in trouble in Arizona. And now that I'm back to California, I am starting to put up some more, pertinent chapters of the Blue Oyster Cult history and story. And, they've changed over the years. They've gotten better, but at heart, it's got the mystique and the mystery and the great melodies and the great hard rock guitar of the inimitable sort of Black Sabbath from New York, but a little bit more popish, pop music, a little bit more, called Blue Oyster Cult. And their first four albums, were my favorites, and that's what I've spent most of my time talking about. But we're going to investigate more songs from, and ETI, let's do it again, is a lot about love and both fraternal and romantic. And, it rocks. It's a good song and everything. I think Buck is one of the happiest guys in the band. And, they've all been through their problems, and so have I. Started as an assistant biographer to the president of the Blue Oyster Cult fan club, Bully Gregmar, and his wife Trish. In the early 90s, I was going to write their life story. So I settled for a podcast. And I will say we'll be uploading some more in the future as I see fit. And, and also in terms of anybody that's watching out there, if you're watching, thank you. And I will keep digging into, the archives of Hal Joseph and his experience with the Blue Oyster Cult rock band from New York City, whose first album, self-titled, came out in 1972 on Columbia Records. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We'll see you next time.